to play guitar or piano and just to try to create the perfect harmony, like for an architect to get the, the perfect perspective, the perfect lines actually. And so at a very early stage, I said, okay, electronic music, how to express electronic music on stage, where culturally we've been used for decades, for centuries, to understand what the sound of violin is doing, the sound of a guitar, saxophone is doing, but with a synthesizer or these days with computers, where you can actually create any kind of sounds. It's very difficult to create a link for the audience between what you play and what you and the sound that you hear. So I questioned all these issues and trying to explore, for instance, in creating some new instruments like the laser harp we saw, and also to try to explore also the visualization of my music. And it's something that I've been really always interested by, with the idea that actually electronic music is coming from Europe. It's coming from Italy with Luigi Russolo and the Art of Noise in the early 20th century, from Stockhausen or Pierre-Henri, Pierre Schaeffer, all these pioneers who for the first time considered music not based on notes and solfeggio, but based on sounds. And to say, okay, we are going to mix the sound of a bird with the sound of a clarinet, or the sound of a washing machine with percussions, in a kind of Marcel Duchamp type of sonic or audio approach. And this is something that actually which changed entirely our perception of music composition until today. Today, all musicians, young DJs, or in any kind of style of music, we all became sound designers, integrating the idea of sounds into music. And on a visual aspect, it's the same, by exploring lots of different textures. I mean, I was really inspired and influenced by people such as Pierre Soulages or Hans Hartung, or all this abstract figuration, as we said, and people such as also Dubuffet. I mean, working with textures, not to try to create, but to create emotion directly with textures and raw material. So that's something what also was a very important element in my own way. And when I look back, and when we were preparing just these visuals to share with you, is the idea of a journey through this obsession of trying to express music with also on a visual way. And at the same time, which is an oxymoron, I think, and it's actually the title of one of my recent work, Oxymoron, where with immersion, we not don't we are not necessarily needs visuals to. I mean, music is in itself can create a journey, and I always considered as, and it seems a paradox or a contradiction, that I always thought that my music could be the soundtrack of the film or the visual you can create in your own mind. So there is this kind of ambiguous relationship between sound, music, and visuals, and it's interesting, especially when you are doing instrumental music and not songs with lyrics, that actually the relationship with visuals can tell a different kind of story or dramaturgy, if we can say so. So then, step by step, I went through starting with analog instruments, with the early days of the synthesizers, to the emergence of digital with the first computers, and these days now to all this new technique of VR, or mode of expression, even VR, AR, and today the territories of AI. And of course, meat is at the heart of course, of all these technique and mode of expression. And I would like to share with you some thoughts about this. Actually, what we are looking at the moment is recently the hybrid concert I did in the Galerie des Glaces in the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles, where actually I was playing live inside the Château de Versailles last Christmas, and at the same time I had some AR headset to play also through my avatar in a virtual Galerie des Glaces, Hall of Mirrors, in front of some digital twins of different audience and different people from all over the world gathered in the same virtual place. And what I like this idea of metaverse and VR and AR is actually the fact that there is nothing new in terms of we are familiar to virtual worlds for a long time. The first virtual object is a book. When you're reading Umberto Eco or Harry Potter, we are all projecting ourselves into the decor, imagining the faces of protagonists, and then, I mean, in a sense, projecting ourselves through our imagination into the story of what we are looking at. And so we are used to that. With metaverse and virtual reality, it's one step further. The fact that you can actually send your digital twin into a virtual world. So you could say, what is the advantage, or why leaving for a moment the physical world? I think there is. And I think that's not the point. The point is actually to create an alternative to the day-to-day process and of creativity. The fact that, for instance, you can reach some people that for, I would say, geographic reasons or social reasons or reasons of handicap, who have difficulties to attend to a concert, to an exhibition, to an opera, and through these new tools, you can reach them. I would like just to tell you a short anecdote about this. When I was rehearsing this concert at Château de Versailles last Christmas, we were rehearsing, and then I decided with my headset to go into the virtual gallery, and just to have a contact with my audience of avatars. Don't forget that these avatars are actually real people. Behind these avatars, real people, and this audience, some people were in Brazil, some people were in China, some people were in France or in Italy, and there is one. You had one girl there. She was from Manchester, and she was very excited. She was asking lots of questions, and so I asked her about who she was, and I discovered that she was handicapped. She was a tetraplegic, and she was, for the first time, she had the feeling to attend to a live event, to a concert, and to dance for the whole evening. So this is what Metaverse is able to offer. You know, we should forget even the technological aspect of it, but the poetic aspect, the human aspect of it is very important. And it reminded me to this moment, at the moment of the Frères Lumière, when the cinema has been created. Lots of people from the theater, from the world of theater, were saying, but all these guys all these people on a white screen, they're not real actors, because a real actor is somebody on stage in front of a real audience. And cinema became the major art form we know, and not only weaken the theater as an art form, but also reinforce the idea and all the repertoire of theater. So it gave access with a different medium to existing stories, to Shakespeare or to Molière or whoever. And this is what I like also with with the metaverse, for me also, is the idea of immersion. And it's very interesting that these days, it's something that we discussed with Maria Grazia recently, when we are talking about VR or AR, immersive worlds, even AI these days, everybody's talking about the visual aspect of it, but very few people are talking about sounds. And if you think of it, the visual field for human being is 140 degrees, but when the audio field is 360 degrees. So if the sound and music are going to be at the heart of these new mode of expressions, and this is the reason why that people are starting to realize, and I think it's a great opportunity for young artists these days, the fact that for centuries, as musicians, we had a kind of 2D relationship with composition. When I'm composing for an orchestra, I visualize the orchestra in front of me in 2D, with strings on one side, the percussions on the middle, and woodwinds and brass on the other side. When I'm in studio, I have speakers in front of me. When we are in a concert, we have either the orchestra in front of us or the PA systems. So we have this kind of relationship, a 2D relationship with music, where sound is not like this for human beings. When we are listening, for instance, even in this room, you can hear my voice, but you can hear also the air conditioning or some other sounds behind you, and people whispering on each side. So you have this kind of 360 space that has not been explored yet. And the big excitement for new generation these days is the fact that you can actually, for the first time, you are going to be able not to be in front of your music, but inside the music. And that's of course, is going to change entirely the way we write music, composing music. Let's imagine that we spend centuries actually in lots of cases to create masterpieces in classical music, but by trying to create a fusion between the left and the right side. But now let's imagine that you can add a string section behind here, and then moving this string section to this place, where the woodwinds or the brass could move somewhere, not as a gadget, not as a gimmick, but to create a different range of emotions, like the emotions we have when we are experimenting sounds in our day-to-day life in 360. So metaverse, AR, VR are not just new gadgets coming from maybe video games, or even if I think that video games is of course a mode of expression in itself, but I think it's going to open doors on total virgin territories. And if we are talking about AI, I'm really involved. For instance, the visuals you see at the moment is the visuals I conceived entirely with AI. And I'm quite happy with what I've done. It's not just by arrogance I'm saying this, but by the tools I was using. I had a fairly precise idea what I wanted to create with the visuals you see from at the moment. And not only these robots, that's what for one part of the project in Bratislava, but all the other pictures you saw just before. And by just writing words, and I like words, actually, and writing, as we say, prompts. And just by changing one word, learning the machine, learning the algorithm, I've been able to control the AI algorithm in a fairly precise way to do what I wanted to create, not what the machine was giving me. For instance, for Versailles, or let's take the Versailles, I wanted to create an old visual environment in between, I would say, Jean Cocteau and Lewis Carroll and Tim Burton, let's say. If on the prompt you write Tim Burton, you will have a kind of funny face of Tim Burton. It doesn't work. So I was very influenced. I've been very influenced by Italo Calvino type of style, by writing writing sentence a little bit in Italo Calvino style, not taking the text, but being inspired by the structure of the sentence. Because for people who knows a little bit about prompts, what's quite amazing, if you change the order of one word, or if you point a question mark or instead of an exclamation mark, it's going to change the perspective, you're going to change the color. So we have to tame the beast, if I can say so. And that is very exciting. And I really consider AI tools as really as a kind of extension of my imagination. And I think we should not be scared about innovation. It's almost in the human DNA to think that yesterday was better and tomorrow is going to be worse. And it's not the case, because we won't be here to share this moment together. I think that, every disruptive moment is a great opportunity for artists and beyond. I think that, and we should not be naive with new technology and tools such as AI, but being greedy and accepting all these new disruptive moments are great opportunities, as I said, to artists. The fact that we're all doing and progressing by using accidents. Suddenly, and talking about accidents, you know probably the principle of AI is actually, AI is harvesting, I would say recolto, big data, and to try to create some, dig into the big data of the world some random elements that will give one result. By the end of the day, what are we doing as artists when we have suddenly a musical idea, for instance, or a visual idea? Where is it coming from? Actually, it's coming from your own analog data. What is what? Your memories, your culture, your environment, your family, your friends, and somewhere hidden in your brain, your brain is digging and picking some random elements from your own experience to create a kind of unexpected accident, which is going to be a new idea. And this new idea is unexpected, but actually is part of your own life. And it's what I like with AI, is also something what we should not be scared about AI for different reasons. The first one is actually AI is harvesting, recolta, the past and not the future. And artists are actually based on using the past to create the future and to contribute to create the future. And the other thing also is also the fact that AI is at the moment, it's a very exciting moment because AI is imperfect. I give you an example. For instance, when I was preparing Versailles, we could, with the tools we had, we could only create animation of 4 seconds. It's reminding me about the first samplers in music, when you could just sample just 1 second of sound. But with this kind of limitation and limited technology, you could create something very special. And I'm sure that in 10 years or 20 years from now, the 2020s will be considered as the beginning of AI. Because at the moment, AI tools are totally imperfect. And then the result of it is going to generate something that we could compare to the first black and white movies, to the first photography, something which is not going to happen later because AI is going to become more and more perfect than like HD and 4K and 8K became more and more precise. And there is a kind of poetic dimension to what is created at the moment, like what Meet is presenting at the moment, and it's a very interesting moment for artists, because we can actually just, as I said before, open doors on virgin territories, and it's of course fantastic, in my opinion, a fantastic luck for young artists these days, in music, in graphic arts or whatever, to be able to use all these new tools and generate the, I would say, the styles of tomorrow, whatever it is. And I think it's we should be one element. What makes me keeps me fresh, I hope, it's the element of curiosity, and I think curiosity is the one of the basis of any creative process. And I'm really happy to share all this with you, with this idea that we have also in responsibility as Europeans. And I would like to end by this. I think that, you know, in Italy, in France, in Europe, in continental Europe, we are on our own vision of the world. And and one of the issues is actually all the tools we are using are, and I love the US and I love China, but I think all the hardware we use are, or softwares are coming from either US or Asia. And if you think of it, if you take ChatGPT, for instance, and if a lawyer today in Italy wants to create and structure a deal using ChatGPT, ChatGPT is going to create this deal, the structure of the deal, based on the American law, not based on the Italian law. And this is something which is quite insidious, that we have to be very careful not to become, you know, a kind of, as I said recently, as a kind of the Aztec of a Cortes 2.0 or 3.0, to become digitally colonized by the fact that the distribution tools we are using are not coming from Europe. We have to build our own autonomy and our own brick of sovereignties in terms of, on technologically speaking. And I think, you know, everybody's talking, when they're talking about AI, about these whole issues of intellectual property, of ethics. I think as Europeans, we have the legitimacy to think about this. People these days want to make us believe that rules and regulations are limiting freedom. I think it's exactly the reverse. We need rules. We have a driving license, and because of this driving license, we can travel all over the world. What makes, and not being too profound and too philosophical about it, but you know, when what makes the difference between democracy and chaos are precisely rules, frameworks. And I think that we have, as Europeans, a responsibility, because since I was talking about Verdi and all this, and Beaumarchais, in this era, we created authors' rights, for instance, and the concept of intellectual property. And everything we do in Europe about this kind of rules to protect, not, I mean, artists specifically, because we are here talking about creation, has a domino effect worldwide. So I think it's very important that a place such here as Meet should be supported by you, by us, by also the city of Milano, the government in Italy, the same in France, the same in Europe. I mean, to wake up and to try to stop being naive about the tools we are using. You know, for instance, when I did this concert during the COVID in a virtual Notre Dame, we had to go through an American distribution platform. And of course, this platform has to be paid. So we had to pay. It was to go through their pipes. And the problem with this is actually tomorrow, these platforms could fix any kind of price, and also to create a sort of a censorship for format reasons or ideological reasons. So this is the reason why we have to create a true alternative. It will enrich actually diversity, even for our American friends or our Chinese friends. It's just to not to be trapped into the fact that tomorrow morning our filmmakers, our writers, our graphic artists, our musicians are going to produce the most brilliant works, but they will keep it on their chimney because they will not find the right distribution means. So this is the reason why a place like Meet is so important, because it's for me a kind of Agora 3.0, where you can actually discuss, exchange all these issues. And I really thank Maria Grazia to invite me and to contribute, to share some basic thoughts with you all. I don't want to be too long, because I would be very happy to exchange and to talk with you all about, if you have any questions, I would be happy to discuss and to open the discussion. Of course, I just gave you some random thoughts about what is my day-to-day life as an artist since the beginning. You know, I would like to tell you to finish this first part before giving you the floor. A long time ago, I met Federico Fellini, and he said something that has been very important to my life. He said, you know, Jean-Michel, I think that when I look back, it was quite old. When I look back, I think that each time I was doing a movie, I thought I was doing a total different movie. And looking back, I think now that I feel that I always did the same one. And I think this is very, very true for all of us. If you look back and you think about Mozart, the Beatles, Tarantino, Stanley Kubrick, Pink Floyd, Umberto Eco, Victor Hugo, actually, they're all saying the same thing during their lives. It's just a declination of what we call style. And that is very also important and gives us lots of hope for the future, because whatever the tools you use, if it's a tam-tam or artificial intelligence, what matters by the end of the day is yourself. And this is something which is very important and give me quite lots of hope for the future. I think we need to be, I would say, optimistic by subversion these days. Thank you.
Michel, for you. Beh, io sono più emozionata di voi, devo dire, quando incontri talenti come questi e possiamo condividere. Grazie veramente Jean-Michel per questa conversazione, questo incontro, questo scambio di idee che sono incoraggianti, perché dobbiamo vedere comunque una strada, no? For the future positiva, o comunque cerchiamo di vedere come questi mezzi possono veramente ancora aiutarci ad avere una visione più costruttiva, creativa. Non vogliamo essere passivi utilizzatori di tecnologie, giusto? E la creatività e l'arte è un drive straordinario, straordinario. Grazie
grazie Maria, grazie.
Jean-Michel. Allora, io avrei tantissime domande da fare, ma io mi sono fissata delle parole. Ricordatevi questo tema della curiosità, veramente questo è il segno di una apertura e di un sviluppo e di una crescita creativa continua che non vede ecco, la cosa bella di tutti i miei Media Guru è che nessuno, e Jean-Michel la prova, è mai rimasto negli schemi. Sempre out of the box, sempre cercare altro, uscire da una quotidianità che magari ti schiaccia e comunque trovare altre frontiere, altre strade. No, guarda, Grazie, perché quando mi sento stanca poi incontro persone così,
she's the
io mi
media
ricarico.
guru, she's the boss. You know, she's
No,
the
no,
media
no,
guru.
no, 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 grazie, veramente grazie a Jean-Michel. No, Jean-Michel, no, Michel,
Yes.
c'est toi. Allora, adesso il momento però è vostro. Lui ci ha raccontato tanto di sé, del suo processo creativo, la sua musica l'abbiamo messa in apertura non a caso, però avete capito che è un eclettico, avete capito che la musica, l'immagine, tutto quanto è un continuo terreno di espressione, creatività, parole, immagini, suoni, straordinario. Allora, volevamo fargli delle domande, approfittiamo di questo momento di dialogo con Jean-Michel che è qui per noi la parola a voi. Chi si fa avanti? So che hai dei fan.
It's me. I'm here, Maria Grazia.
Dove?
Hello, here.
Ok. Ciao.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jarre, for this fantastic sharing
Where
and
are
your
you?
speech. I'm here. Okay, stand up.
È una
Ah,
condivisione.
yes, much
ok.
better.
And thank you,
Philip.
thank you, Maria Grazia, for this gift. I
No, è
have
lui che ha fatto il regalo.
I have a little question. How much of your musical inspiration comes from pictures?
It's a very interesting question.
Bello.
Thank you for asking. Because, you know, when I started electronic music, I had not a lot of musical inspiration because it was a new style. Now, I would say electronic music is pretty old already because we have hundreds and thousands and hundreds brilliant artists and achievements. So actually, my main source of inspiration was visual, coming from movies. Of course, sci-fi movies, but not only. I mean, of course, 2001 Space Odyssey for me has been, like lots of people of my generation and later, I've been, for instance, it has been a very good source of inspiration for lots of reasons. The relationship in this movie between the visual and the music, the paradox of using unexpected style like the Blue Danube with spaceships, this kind of link. And also Italian movies. Italian filmmakers such as Federico Fellini, Visconti, and also the old Dino Risi, and all this Ettore Scola. I mean, because the relationship, and of course Sergio Leone with Ennio Morricone, this kind of relationship that, for instance, if you take Fellini with Federico Fellini with Nino Rota for me is like Mozart, and has been a great source of inspiration. This all this era, in terms of movies, have been a great source of inspiration. Also, with the soundtracks going with it. Thank you. Thank them.
Vai.
Bonsoir Jean-Michel. My name is Zin, I'm an archivist and an artist from Fondazione Scuola Bene Attività Culturali and former UNESCO archivist. I have a very precise question that concerns archives and datasets and sustainability. I know that you are the ambassador, one of the ambassadors of UNESCO. So my question relates more to the future regarding sustainability. I mean, let me clarify. As you mentioned, we have access to past items that we can use today as young artists and so on. But what about the concerns in the future, not only financial, but also about resources in 360 degrees?
Thank you for asking again, because I think it's a very interesting point. I mean, as you know, because you are linked to UNESCO, we fought a lot in a few years ago, and actually I must say that I contributed with some people such as Pierre Berger, one of the Yves Saint Laurent founder, about this idea of patrimoine immatériel, you know, towards World Heritage, by asking ourselves what makes the identity of a community. And as you know, I mean, through archives, the craftsmanship, the gardens, movies, of course, cinema, graphic design are part of the identity of a tribe, a community, or small or big, and this is the reason why this is one of the the reason why I love UNESCO so much, because it's a priority what you're talking about. And the fact that the risk with the digital era is actually that by creating a kind of worldwide access to everything, that's actually we forget the village and the memory of villages towards the memory of the world, and the world being mainly America or Asia, and not thinking a lot about emerging countries or countries who have which have less possibility to actually promote and save their own archives. I mean, archives are not we all become also, which is also ambiguous, and sorry, because I don't want to be long, because I would like to listen to everybody else, but just to I would like to develop much more on the archives point of view, because we all becoming through our own smartphones archivists of our own life, and lots of people are, as we know, are filming their day-to-day life. I mean, just charging and loading lots of photos, pictures, elements that they will never see and look at again. And then by doing this, we are step by step losing the link, human link, with our real archive, the archives of our community. And all these questions are very important, and I think that AI is not necessarily danger. It could be also a help. Technology is neutral. We should stop to think that technology is dangerous. Fire has been very positive, the discovery of fire, but of course fire is dangerous. Electricity is dangerous also, and the fission of atoms. And we saw recently a fantastic Christopher Nolan movie about Oppenheimer. We know how dangerous it can be, and AI is the same. So it's us to actually use the tools at the right in the right direction. But thank you for asking.
Bravo.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question about AI. We've seen some images that you created with AI, and I'm thinking also in music there are some applications of AI. You can already create some music through AI. I know, having used it myself, that it's not as easy as some people might think, especially if you have a very precise vision in your head. But for maybe less demanding people, it could be very easy, even without a vision. So aren't you worried that for the less demanding people, using AI could like force you to early retirement, or if it's not for you, like make it harder for younger artists to have a career?
I don't think so. I'm going to explain you to try to explain you why. I think that you know, any kind of disruptive moments, they have their dark sides. I mean, we said the same thing with the beginning of photography. What you said, some people, some painters, when photography started, said exactly the same, saying, "Don't you think that with photography, painters will disappear?" And it was not the case. Painting maybe evolved because of photography, and the same thing with theaters and movies. And I think these days, it's not because you are going to be able to create a fake Beatles song with AI that the next Beatles are not going to exist. Because again, when you are digging into an AI algorithm, you are digging the past. And what's interesting with an artist is suddenly an artist is coming with the same, in Western music, with the same 12 notes. We just have 12 notes, and we did millions of pieces of music all over the world, all over the time, and all over the world. So, and suddenly you have somebody coming and with these 12 notes, doing something unexpected and new. So I'm not at all worried about this. But of course, AI, for instance, Spotify, the dream of Spotify would be to replace artists by AI generating pop music, you know. And they are on the dark side of the force. Darth Vader's children, you know. We should resist. And having a laser, so.
Prendiamoci di questi strumenti e utilizziamoli per portare avanti la nostra creatività più avanti. Sentendo questa domanda mi è venuto, ti interrompo un secondo, in mente le cose che mi raccontavi ieri sulla musica infinita e su questo atteggiamento di sperimentazione così continua. L'arte è un'arte d'avanguardia, qui l'avanguardia... Scusate.
You see, Italian and French, they have the problem with microphones. This is the reason why that, because when you're talking with hands, after one time nobody is hearing us. So this is the reason I have a mic.
Okay,
you know, take this.
A proscenna. Allora, tutta la sua arte è un'arte d'avanguardia, che vuol dire che questa spinta alla ricerca, alla sperimentazione, a misurarsi. Prendete nota quando ha parlato dell'imperfezione, di questo momento che è un po' c'est une sorte de âge d'or che noi viviamo, no? Noi siamo...
Absolutamente.
E ieri mi raccontava della sua ricerca sulla musica infinita.
Yes, you want me to talk about Eon a little bit?
Nous
yes.
avons parlé de la musique infinie,
Absolument.
de ta recherche, parce que
I
non è che ha finito con la musica di Bratislava e si è fermato e dice adesso penso cosa fare nel futuro. Lui continua a progettare, e questa ricerca della musica infinita con l'app che ha creato Eon e lo sviluppo, ci vuoi parlare un attimo di questo? Perché c'è una sorta di automatismo che non è un automatismo, è un modo per cui io almeno l'ho vissuta così, possiamo entrare, anche se non sono un'esperta di musica, in relazione con la musica ancora in maniera ancora più personalizzata. E comunque sono dei campi di ricerca e di creatività affascinanti, che hanno una storia quand même, no?
Yes, I mean, and it's also to answer to your question, in case I have to retire, I just got an idea. Maybe I could explain to you.
Sì?
And it's a quite interesting project I worked 5 years ago called Eon. Eon is the Greek god of time, Chronos of the Finnish time, and the Eon is the god of or the divinity of infinite time. And the idea was to create a never-ending album, a never-ending piece of music. That based on very quickly, based on something quite unusual. I for 1 year I created almost 400 modules from 30 piece of music, short pieces of music from 30 seconds to 3 minutes, able to be combined to each other, and using a generative algorithm. Then all these different modules are able to be played and to be linked with each other, and the algorithm can change the tonality or the beat or by the filters, the sound of it, the texture. So what you're going to listen will never be the same. And also the idea was also to address to the audience the fact that for each listener it will be a different music. Because what you hear with the app will never happen again. Like the moment we are sharing at the moment, we know that we're never going to happen again in the same way. That was really the idea behind this app Eon that I released 5 years ago. This is still available. Unfortunately, not on Android, but only on Apple. And the Eon 2, I'm going to balance the situation, and not even if we love Steve Jobs' era a little less, the post, this is a personal opinion, the neo Steve Jobs era. And so the V2 will be also Android friendly. And it's a very interesting project showing that actually, I mean, this music can continue after my death and after yours. I don't want to be too dark about it, but this is exactly what it is. So please, if you
Musica
have...
infinita, è bellissimo. È ed è anche visualizza, no?
Yes,
Visualizza
it's not
perché
only an audio project, it's also audiovisual because I worked with a Sony Computer Science Laboratory in Tokyo to create also the same kind of generative concept on a visual point of view. I'm not entirely satisfied with the visual side, even on a pure graphic point of view. It's very interesting, but I wanted to improve. I would like to improve the kind of randomness with the music. But the music, which is really, and I think it's working quite well. If you have the opportunity, you can experiment it. Is actually it's never the same thing. And you can't do anything except by, if you don't like it, you just press stop and play. And it will go in a different direction. It's quite...
è come la vita.
Yes, exactly.
È
That's
come
right.
la vita.
Or if we could
No? Ci sono
play,
questi momenti.
if we could play stop and going into a different
io vorrei-
direction, it's something that could be useful sometimes. Yes.
C'era ancora una domanda? O due,
Bonsoir,
non lo so.
Monsieur Jarre.
Bonsoir.
Très ému de vous voir en face. I'm going to talk in English so that everyone understands.
Yeah.
My question was a bit really in line with what this gentleman
Sì,
said.
sì.
I mean, I think many of us might be scared about AI, and we do not know where the limits are, obviously. So, I mean, what would you say, to people who are like, in brackets, scared? Because I work in the pharmaceutical industry, for example, and even in the pharma industry, they are talking about AI now. So it's a little scary. So what would you say?
I would say that any kind of disruptive moments are scary. And of course, we should not be naive about it, and it's going to change and to be quite difficult in some sectors of our society. For artists, it's probably different. But also, we should not be scared of this, because actually, when you take the Industrial Revolution, of course, lots of jobs have been lost and replaced by some others. And it takes always time. And the issue is actually, when you are in the middle of this, as we are at the moment with the beginning of AI, it's an issue. But I would say that also we should not necessarily going too much into this kind of dystopian vision. It reminds me about at the beginning of the 20th century, I saw recently a front page of a British newspaper saying, be careful because over 50 kilometers in a steam train, your heart may explode. It's exactly the same kind of thing, this kind of apocalyptic vision we have of any kind of innovation. We shouldn't be naive, but I think we should not be scared about innovation. But having said that, of course, is going to be an issue for some sectors, and that is something that we have collectively to think about, I think. Merci à toi.
Ci sono ancora una, due, adesso chi è che tiene d'occhio il pubblico?
Hello.
Hello.
What do you think about political activism? I think we should have to think about this.
Political what?
Activism.
Attivismo.
In what sense? Linked to AI or linked to what? Linked to technology?
I mean, to link that the artists, remove their comfortable studios and they do something, protest on the street, and they are being active in political senses or questions.
Are you talking about the relationship? Because I'm not sure that I understood clearly your question. Are you talking about the position of artists towards politics? Is what you're talking about? Okay. I grew up with somebody very important, like lots of French or Latin kids, considering that your mom is a model. my mom was a real model to me. And she was a great figure, the French resistance. And she taught me, she's been caught by 3 times by Nazis. She escaped 3 times. She even from a deportation camp in Ravensbrück. And just after the war, when I was just a kid, in those days, she told me to make a difference between ideology and people, between the Nazis and German people. It was not that common in these days, in those days. And she told me about as an artist being actually aware of all this all over the world, to be, for instance, against all kinds of boycotts. And I know that lots of my colleagues are not necessarily sharing this view, and I think they're wrong. Because, you know, we are living in democracy where we have freedom of speech, where we are free. And suddenly to decide that we should boycott one country is actually, in a sense, collaborating with those regimes, because for an audience and for people who don't have the same kind of freedom as we have, if on top of it we decide that they should not have access to movies, to music, to books, I think it's a double penalty. And I think we should never be scared of going into countries, even if we don't agree with the regime and with the politics, because actually culture should be a Trojan horse, a cheval de Troie, in those countries. So I think this is globally what I feel artists should be activists by, I think tomorrow, not being afraid of, as soon as we can, I don't know, playing to Iran or to North Korea, because I think that